there's a place for you, far away from forces you can't subdue. Somewhere in life there'll be someone to know, there'll be a hand to hold. Somewhere in life there'll be darkness too, storms of evil, moments that cloud your view. And yet in life you'll find that morning sun, you'll find a battle won.
All right, gang. The story begins rather uncertainly. Several billion years ago with the origin of life. Now, it's generally believed that the Earth's life originated in the sea, but scientists have only hypotheses for the hows and the whens. Recent experiments have shown, however, that some organic molecules can be produced under conditions thought to be
Does it matter?
primitive Earth.
He certainly seems convinced.
The scriptures are very clear on the origin of the earth, of life, and of man. For example, look at the first chapter of Genesis. Is there any question here about where man came from? Heather.
It's obvious that God created everything, but doesn't everyone really believe that, regardless of what they say?
You're probably right, Heather. Someone has said there are no atheists in the foxholes. Justin.
That's too easy. A guy in a foxhole is scared, and I'm not sure he's being completely honest when he turns to God. I know of people who don't believe that God created the world or life or anything.
Do you think they are being honest?
I don't know, but they seem to be. I guess my question is, does it really matter?
Yes, Justin. It really matters. Let me ask you a question or two, and I expect you to be as honest as you can.
Okay.
Let's assume you have a child, okay?
Okay.
You raise the child and love him for the first year of his life, and then you're killed, okay?
Well, I don't want that to happen, but all right.
Okay, now some time passes, and the mother tries to tell the child, your child, all about you. But as he grows older, the child, having no direct association with you, begins to doubt all the evidences that his mother gives. Pictures, letters, and other items that seem to her to be sure evidence don't seem to mean a thing to the child. Now you, being on the other side of the veil, know that you can touch the child's heart by means that are available to you there. Would you try?
Sure I would.
Well, there is, however, one thing that can keep you from successfully doing that.
What's that?
The child will not listen with his heart. Another important point, the child refuses to read the letters you wrote, particularly the ones written just before you died. He says they're too hard to understand. Now, how do you, as the child's father, feel?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I see your point, and I guess it makes sense, but...
Justin, I guess in this situation, I'm playing the role of your mother. And I want you to know that you do have a father, and that he loves you, and he wants to touch your heart so that you'll know that he loves you.
the matter, Justin? Don't you feel well?
I'm fine, Mom. I've just been thinking.
Do you want to talk about it?
No, not really. It's just one of those days.
Justin, if there's anything we can do, let us be a part of it.
Thanks, Dad, but it's not that big a deal. I just want to think.
Okay. I think I know what you mean.
Hi, Justin.
Well, look who's up and around. How's it going, Aaron?
How come you're not in church? Seems like you guys spend all your time in church.
I suppose it does look that way to some people. But we have time for other things.
Yeah, I was interested in what you had to say in class the other day.
Oh, you mean with Mr. Green?
Yeah, what'd you think about what he said?
I don't know.
Well, one thing for sure, he doesn't believe in God.
Yeah, that's what bothers me.
Well, what do you mean?
Well, Mr. Green is so sure of himself. But so are my parents, and they're complete opposites. My folks believe there is a God, and that's that. So where does that leave us?
I think I sort of understand what you're saying. My parents have built their whole life around their faith in God. And they've made it plenty obvious they expect us kids to believe the same things they do.
Are your folks that way too?
You must not know too much about the Jewish people. We're trained from the day we're born to believe certain things and to act certain ways. They seem okay when you're young, but when you grow older, it gets hard.
That's interesting. It's the same way with us.
I've noticed that about you. Before I came here to live, all the Christians I knew were just the opposite.
I can see why you'd feel that way now that I come to think about it. In some ways, I guess we are a lot alike, aren't we? Here we are, trying to decide whether there is a God or not. I guess that's the question, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I've never wondered until just the last few months.
You know, Aaron, we could make some pretty stupid mistakes.
How's that?
Well, look at some of the kids around us. Boy, they really go off the deep end. They start drinking and smoking, and a few get hooked on drugs. They quit trying in school, and some even become immoral. Can you imagine being married at our age? It'd be terrible.
I wonder why they do it.
Because they make silly mistakes. And I suppose we could do the same thing.
But how do we avoid making those kinds of mistakes? Well, I've had times when I felt like trying some of those things.
So have I. Speaking of silly mistakes, I've got to get home or I'll be late for church. One of the things I have worried about is truth. I want to know the truth.
So do I. But how do you know the truth when you see it?
Did you know I'm studying the Old Testament this year?
You are?
Yeah.
Do you believe in the Old Testament?
Sure. You do too, don't you?
Of course. We wrote it, you know.
Who's we?
The Jews.
Oh, no. No, you didn't write it any more than we did.
What do you mean?
Well, as I understand it, you descended from Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Judah, right?
Well, yeah, mostly through Judah.
Well, I descended from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob through Joseph. But let's get more specific. Moses wrote the first 5 books of the Old Testament, didn't he?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, that's the most important part of the scriptures for us. We call it the Torah.
Well, then you know as well as I do that Moses descended from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob through Levi.
Do you really believe the Torah as much as your other scriptures?
Sure I do.
Are you sure?
Of course I am.
Then do you honestly believe in your other scriptures?
Sure I do.
If that's true, then why do you question whether or not there is a God?
I never thought about it that way. I guess when you come right down to it, I don't question that.
Then what do you question?
I guess I question what I know. Or rather, what I don't know.
I think you're right. Well, I'll be studying the Torah this year and you the Old Testament. It could be a great waste of time, or it could be a great experience for both of us.
Are you willing to accept the Torah as truth?
Yes. Yes, I am. That's one thing I feel good about. How about you?
I've thought a lot about that. And regardless of what people like Mr. Green say, the feelings in me say to believe the scriptures, and so I do. I think it'd be fun to share what we learned. I know I'd like that.
Well, so would I. But don't expect me to join your church.
Well, now, why would you think I would want that?
Don't worry, I've heard all about you Mormons.
Oh, you have, huh? Incidentally, how much do you know about our church?
Not much, really.
Well, you'll probably enjoy living among us if you know more. Would you like to know more?
Oh, yeah, I guess so.
You know, Aaron, there's something I noticed as I compared the sureness of Mr. Green with the sureness of my parents.
What's that?
I don't know how to say it, but it has to do with the spirit of what they were saying.
You mean they felt like their sureness would lead us to good, while Mr. Green just didn't care where his feelings led?
Yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it. Wouldn't truth lead to good and happiness, while error just wouldn't care?
Like the difference between light and darkness.
Yeah.